Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to episode 162 of NerdPod Generations. As always, I'm one of your illustrious hosts, Steve Taylor, along with the always lovely Al Jetsam. Hello, sir.
Hello, friends and enemies.
Good to see you, buddy.
What's up, dude?
No, a lot.
Yeah.
It was a busy week.
Yes, same here. Yeah. Very busy.
I gotta say, Memorial Day, I mowed the lawn. It took me 2 hours in the sun.
It fried you out.
Took me like 2 days to recover from that.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah,
I
always forget how exhausting it is just to stand out in the sun.
Yeah.
Like, it just is exhausting on the body.
Well, and then the next day I had to go do this stupid inventory, so I had to be up at 3 to go into work, and I worked until, I think it was there at 4.
Yeah.
So I was done.
Woof and
Whooped and woofed,
yeah.
But anyways, folks, enough of my bellyache. And this is NerdPod Generations, episode 162, meaning there are 161 previous episodes of pure gold in our back catalog, so please go listen. And if you are listening to us for the first time, make sure you subscribe to our channel so you can get updates on all new shows. Also, you can go to nerdpodgen.com. There are links on there to not only the Spotify and Apple podcast sites, but also to our YouTube channel, which Al has been uploading clips and different pieces from old episodes, newer episodes. So we have a nice little catalog of stuff.
There's some good stuff there to go back and check. And now all of Andor and all of Daredevil are up there. So you got to go check it out, see what the reviews are on that one, because, you know, in case you haven't watched those and you're still like, I don't know, what do these two idiots think? Now you can find out.
You know, a lot of people think we're idiots. But I'll tell you what.
Including us.
Yeah, exactly. You will understand this about us, folks. We will tell you what we think. We will not, you know, to lack of a better term, pussyfoot around things. We will tell you exactly how we feel about things. And a lot of times very passionately and loudly.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of refreshing because I'll listen to some, you know, critiques of movies and shows, and people are trying to be diplomatic. I don't want to be.
No. In terms of pussyfooting, we're more like an avalanche of dog feet.
Yes.
Where it's just like, it smells like Fritos, and it's just never ending, and there's claws involved, and it's out of control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
The end of Toy Story 3.
Yeah.
In the melter.
In a lot of ways. Yeah.
So anyways, folks, we do like to start every episode with what have we been watching, playing, and reading. How about you start with this one today,
I'll take bat. So I wanted to start by talking about, I have two things I want to do. So I'm going to start by talking about a podcast I've started listening to that I think is really interesting for anybody who likes sports and or investigative journalism. If anybody knows Pablo, if you don't, Pablo Torre.
Yeah.
Pablo Torre Finds Out is a really, really good podcast.
Okay.
And it's basically just his reporting on various things. So some of them are dumb. You know, some of them are just like kind of more our speed in terms of like they're not doing any heavy research. They're not, you know, putting together any thesis statements. They're just reacting to a video, or, you know, they have a bunch of people on and they all just bring in one article, and it's indeterminate whether this article is meaningful or anything. But then you also have really good pieces on scandals in cheating and fencing. Oh. And he's been covering Bill Belichick and his girlfriend.
Interesting.
And so it's really interesting to see the stuff that he's finding out. Yeah. It's weird. It's gross. Weird. But he's a very good reporter. And while I don't like Dan Le Batard at all, I will put up with him because they're from the same tree to deal with this.
You know, I'm not a massive Dan Le Batard fan, but he still looks, to this day, and I know he mentions it, he is Flounder from Animal House.
Yeah.
He looks just like that actor, and it's creepy as hell.
Absolutely.
Even his age now, he still does.
Steven whatever is what's
his. I can't remember his last name.
But, so that's been a really, really interesting show to kind of just fall through.
Awesome.
Because you do get like these really interesting investigations into some really deep topics, some really surface level topics too, but the investigation is really well done. And, you know, the guy is very clearly smart, has a good team behind him. So it's just really nice if you need news or if you like listening to investigative journalism type stuff, but you don't want to listen to anything going on in the scary part of the real world, as I've been referring to it. These things matter to some, but matter at all to no one. Like none of this is important.
Okay.
All of this is important to some people. None of this is important to anybody in terms of their day-to-day life. So
I got you.
It's nice to have that as like a little palate cleanser, a little refresher to be like, I'm not gonna deal with all this. It sometimes creeps its way in.
Yeah.
You know, as all journalism can. Yeah, exactly. So you're listening to him talk about these scandals in fencing, and that branches off to Putin, and that branches off to Trump, and before you know it, we're back where we started. But it at least doesn't start there. You don't have to put up with it. It's one of those like, oh, of course Fox News has an opinion on this, and of course it's wrong. No shit. So
always.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a really good show. I really like it.
Nice.
So the other thing that I've been pouring a lot of time into is Attack on Titan.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I'd watched it initially, the first season, back when I was in college.
Okay.
So like 2014 probably. And I'd always watched it coming out, but hadn't committed to picking it up again. I have this weird on and off relationship with anime. Now that dubbing has gotten a lot better in recent years, I follow more voice actors. I am more interested in dubbed anime because of that, and I think that they've also gotten better in terms of like trying to make the story make sense without changing the inherent nature of what the characters are saying. Where like the one that I always think of is they had a Japanese treat which was like it's some spicy paste in a rice ball, and it's like a little Japanese treat. And so on Pokemon, they have a bunch of these. And for whatever reason, Brock refers to them as donuts because that was what the writers thought was a good equivalent for kids.
Oh, weird.
To be like, oh, it's a jelly-filled donut. And it's like, it's not.
It's absolutely not.
Super clearly not. And so, like, we've moved out of that era, which was, like, my entire childhood. Was, like, you're listening to some of the dialogue and you're like, this sounds like someone had an idea in the writer's room and was like, but we'll make them say this instead and it'll be funny. And it's I don't know how organic it is to the show itself. So as I've been watching My Hero Academia, and now especially with this, you don't feel that like, okay, they're taking some liberties with the dub to try and make a joke or to do this or to do that. It's like, this is the genuine thing. So I do like that part of it. It's just a really interesting story. For anybody who's not familiar, it's basically, it takes place in like the Alpine German region, it seems. I'm going to get back to that in a second. But it's basically about the society that has built these walls around themselves to protect them from these giant humanoid monsters that have appeared out of nowhere.
That almost look like they have no skin.
They have no features. They have these grotesque heads.
Yes.
And then these stretched out, mangled bodies, and they're gross to look at. You don't like looking at them. You don't like looking at their faces. You don't like having any part of them. And watching them eat people is horrifying. It's terrible. It's terrible every time. But that's the crux of the show. So it is like, what if the people were the flies and the people being buzzed by the flies were giants? And now that's your story, is you're trying to take down these giants with these people buzzing around on cables and with canisters of air. It's really cool. It looks super fucking cool. It looks super cool every time. It's a little talky at times. There's definitely some moments where it's like, this is supposed to be a really intense moment, but it doesn't seem like there's actual repercussions. We can sit here and have a dialogue. But again, this is another anime thing. We can have a whole dialogue about what's happening while we're on horseback running from this group of monsters. And we're going to have this 5-minute conversation about what's going on while this is happening. And it's like, it's not that doesn't happen, but there are moments where you're like, I thought we were in like really serious danger. And now we're having this back and forth about whether we trust each other and what we need to do next. And man, it seems like we can just go straight in a straight line forever whenever we have these conversations, because we never have to turn or make any adjustments or anything. You can just keep going straight forward and it's fine. That all being said, I'm really enjoying the show.
Nice.
It is full of twists and turns. It is a mystery unlike a mystery that I've seen in a long time, where like usually when you're watching a mystery, there's some tropes that you can kind of pick up the breadcrumbs and be like, okay, so that's what that means. And I need to remember this for later. And then there's this. The mystery here, I'm just fully baffled by. I'm just fully like, where's this going? What does this have to do with anything? How can some of these people justify their actions the more we learn about what's happening in the story? You know, we watch all this horror happen, and then you start meeting some of the people responsible for these events, and you're like, how did you think that this was okay? But there's also clearly a bigger, deeper mystery going on, where some people talk about things in one way, and then some people talk about them in an entirely different way. And it's just like, especially when it pertains to the Titans, it's just the way that people talk about Titans. Some people have one view and some people have another, and it's almost like the view of the characters that we follow is the view that everybody in the world that we understand has. And then there's this other dynamic that we're slowly learning more about, where it's like, oh, we've been told a lot of lies about what the Titans are, where they come from, how they work. And so you're just constantly learning more. And then that reframes everything you've learned previously.
Oh, interesting.
So you're sitting there and you're like, wait, but if that's the case, then what about this thing and this thing and this thing? And they do a good job of addressing those ideas. And as you're kind of putting together what they're building, you're like, this is making me queasy. I do not like the implications of some of the things going on here.
What is this on? What channel were you on?
So it's on Hulu.
Netflix?
It's a Hulu.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's on Hulu. It's also currently on sale on Vudu. If you want to buy each season for $5, you can get the whole thing for about $40. Yeah.
Which I know this is completely off topic and we'll get back in a second. It was like a couple weeks ago they had the entire Castlevania Netflix series for like $1.99 or something.
Yeah, it was super cheap.
It was insane.
Yeah. Oh, I already had it. If I hadn't already gotten it previously, I would have gotten it then.
It's fucking crazy.
Yeah. But pretty soon I'm getting that itch.
I was gonna say you get an anime itch scratch really big right
Well,
now.
not only that, there's also this itch of like, me and Kelly were talking about backing up media because we were talking about the show and how, I've gotten to a point where I need to figure out the next steps in terms of how I'm going to store all of the episodes that we have and all the cuts and everything. So we're talking about backing everything up, and there's that ubiquitous statement of if it's in one place, it doesn't exist. If it's in two places, it's not secure. If it's in three places, it's secure. Mm-hmm. And I keep on thinking back to my digital movie collection, which is like almost 900 strong, not including TV. Yeah. And I'm just like, that's still technically in one place. Yep. That's technically in one place. That's not saved in multiple locations. So I might follow your act and start getting back into physical media. It's very, very possible I might be getting back into physical media as my next collecting, hoarding business that I get into.
I tell you, it's especially if you could just wait until the price drops a little, you get the digital copy with the physical disc, so you could still have your digital copy.
Yeah.
But man, no, it's a difference.
Yeah, but I can't just go through the $5 bin on Vudu and be like, I'll take this, and I'll take Unrated Grandma's Boy, and I'll take this, and I'll do that. Like, I got so many unrated movies because they would just drop for $5, and it's just like, I'll pay $5 for this to just have it in the library, sure. So
I'm terrified of the day the internet goes down.
I know, I'm like, man, I don't invest in the stock market, but I invest in my personal digital movie collection.
With the technology we have, there should be a way to back up digital purchases.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure like if the server farm went down, they would still be able to recover everything. My concern is if Fandango decides, hey, we're going to sell this off to Amazon as a business model and have our people at the top make $1 billion. And then Amazon's like, well, this is a competitor and we don't want to deal with the competitor, so we're going to fold the whole thing. And if you just bought into it like Apple did that one time where Apple was just like, yeah, sorry, you bought stuff on our digital platform. Well, that's gone. That's just gone. We're just not doing that anymore. And so I have concerns. But anyway,
I'm so concerned.
Getting back on track. The show is really interesting in part because it basically becomes a mech show at some point.
Oh, nice.
And it's like without the mechs. Instead of mechs, you have people driving around Titans.
Interesting.
And it's really cool. It's again, it's very graphic in a lot of moments. There's an element of the Titans where they heal like Wolverine or Deadpool, but very fast.
Okay.
But this means that you see a lot of people that just have limbs chopped off, and they're just regrowing them slowly. And that's just like a returning point within the show. Is just like, oh, that person lost a few limbs, but as long as they can get access to their Titan thing, then they can get their limbs back or whatever. And so you do have you do have that element of the show of just like,
it is a fucked up Japanese thing. So.
There's a lot of stuff getting cut off and grown back. So, but I really like it. It's left me thinking more about the plot than anything else I've watched recently in terms of trying to piece together where all of this is going. There's this ubiquitous, anonymous thing out there. It's like a Disney movie where it's just like, I just need to get out there. And everything will be solved as soon as I get out there. And you're like, but what is out there? What does this mean? My only bone of contention, going back to this being an Alpine story. So this is a anime originally in Japanese, translated into English, and then put into an English dub, right? Right.
Okay.
So at some point, I get it, right? There's like this moment where you have a bunch of Japanese people looking through a bunch of Germanic names and then choosing Germanic names and then using them in their show, right? That's fine. I don't care about that. I don't care about that. There's mispronunciations as a result of that. Again, I don't care about that. The fact that the mispronunciations made it to the English dub, that's the part I think is weird.
Yeah, that's weird.
The fact that they name so there's 3 walls around this civilization protecting them from these giants. and it's Cinna, Rose, and Maria. They don't call it Maria. They call it Wall Maria. And I'm like, that's wrong.
Yeah.
You're just wrong. The name Maria
weird.
exists in so many cultures, and in no culture is it pronounced Maria.
Yeah.
There's no culture where they do that. And there's a few pronunciation issues like that scattered throughout the show. It's one thing when it's like the one Japanese character and they're mispronouncing her name or pronouncing it in a way that I was like, I don't, you feel like you're rushing that second syllable. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert, but it just feels that way. But when you have like these actual European names and then they're just being botched, you're just like, I don't get it. I don't understand how you can have a character named Annie Leonhardt and have everybody, it's Leonhert. They say her name is Annie Leonhardt. And I'm like, wait a minute. I don't want to get stuck on this because there's tons of really big things that I have to take apart here, and I definitely don't want to get distracted on this. But we all need to take a minute, look around, and agree that this is not how some of these names are pronounced.
That's so weird.
And it's one thing if it's like the Japanese dub and they're mispronouncing it over there, but when it comes back over here, I don't care if they pronounce it Maria over there. You should look at it and be able to say, this is clearly Maria. Let's have everybody pronounce it Maria. There was real effort and time put into having everybody say Maria.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get this like, okay, so these are how we're pronouncing the names, and even if it's wrong, we're going to keep doing it anyway. I don't get that. That just is weird to me. I don't get that. So it's literally my only complaint with the show. It does run into those similar cycles with anime of like a lot of shouting, a lot of I'll kill you, I promise, I swear I'll kill you. You know, you're like the main character is just always screaming about killing people and how angry he is at society and the world. And so it kind of gets into those marches every once in a while. But it is a legitimately great show, and it is very captivating to watch. So
that's good to
So
hear.
far, love it.
I like that.
Yeah.
So I got a couple quick hits.
Yeah.
And then I want to talk a little bit about something. So on the video game side.
Yeah.
Played a couple more hours of Doom Dark Ages. Still love the game, great game. But I came to the conclusion of why I didn't finish Doom Eternal. It becomes very rinse and repeat. Yeah. It's very similar enemies, just waves of enemies. So still fun. I recommend it. My time with it's probably done. You know, it was free for me on Game Pass, so it's not a big deal. But, you know, I put 10 hours in.
It's not
that's
nothing.
good.
Yeah.
Then I said, well, I got to play something else. And I put 70-plus hours into Xenoblade X, so I might be done with that. Because, once again, the first time around was a 300-plus hours. So to do 70-plus, I'm like, all right, I got the itch scratched.
You got that nostalgia buzz.
I still have it. And I still have the game saved, so I can go back at any time.
Yeah.
So there's a game that I've had now for, I didn't realize it was so long. It's over a year. That for some reason I never played because my son, I pretty much got it for him. Which is Mario Wonder.
Oh yeah, we've been toying around with that a little bit.
I started playing Mario Wonder. It's a really fun damn game.
Yeah,
like it's very old school.
Yeah,
which I love.
I haven't played it, but we've been meaning to play it. We got access to it recently, so we've been meaning to play it as a threesome in the house.
Okay.
And it looks so fun. It also does the little brother mode in a really interesting way.
Yes.
Where it's like Yoshi's, you don't get any of the superpowers.
Yoshi and the Nibbit or whatever the little guy with the, Nabbit.
They don't get any of the mushrooms or any of the power-ups, but they also can't die.
They can't die.
And so it's really interesting as like a game mechanic to be like...
Well, there are some boards that are kind of tough. I'm not going to lie. But man, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
And you get these special abilities that you can choose from which one you want to go into each level with.
Yeah.
So like one of them is a wall jump, one of them is a super swim sprint, one of them is like you get extra coins if you kill.
It's like the badges system.
Oh, that's what they are. They're badges.
Yeah,
and it's really kind of fun.
Yeah.
So I am ecstatic about it so far. I put in maybe 3 hours, so I'm looking forward to getting back into it.
I always get really excited when a good 2D Mario game comes out because I just can't make that track change in my mind. I keep trying. I was really hoping with Odyssey that I'd be able to. But every time I try and play a 3D Mario, I'm just not into it for whatever reason. Whether it's that I feel like it's kind of a drag to run around the free world, unlike in other games, or whether it's that it's kind of, janky, like 64, and in my experience, Mario Odyssey were, because I'm just bad at motion controls, and there's no way to turn those off. So,
see, I'll be honest. I think the only 3D Mario that I would say I really loved was 3D World.
Yeah.
With the cat suits and all that.
And
that
even that is
really
still
fun.
more, it's still like, it's a 3D Mario, but it has the feel of a 2D Mario.
Yes, exactly.
And it's like, while it is 3D and you move on an X, Y, and Z axis, the camera angles are always from that 2D perspective of way high up, way away, so you can kind of see a full line of view, as opposed to having the camera right behind Mario like you have in all the 3D games, and all you can see is whatever's in your peripheral. But I do want to try Mario Wonder. I think it looks great.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So highly recommend that. So real quick before I get to my main thing, my wife and I did finish Reacher season 3. For those of you who are interested in it, they got Alan Ritchson, I think his last name is, biggest human being I've ever seen. So they got the casting right for Reacher, and the first 2 seasons were really entertaining. Third season started a little rough, but then it got really entertaining, and it's one of the main bad guys is Anthony Michael Hall, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But it's... So imagine all of the best cheesy 80s action tropes in a TV show and unapologetic about it.
Yeah.
And that's the show.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it fun, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that is the stupidest thing, but that was cool.
Well, and it just has that appeal that guys really like. I'm going to be pejorative and say guys.
Yeah.
Where it's just like you see 3 men in a room, and they walk up to Reacher and they're like, "We're gonna blah 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 blah," and he's like, "Don't mess with me," and they're like, "Blah blah blah blah." He's like, "Don't mess with me," and then cut to them scattered around the room, having had the shit kicked out of them. It's like, I love that.
And I gotta say, out of all the seasons, there is a character that he's kind of at odds with from the start of the season, who is this guy, I can't believe I'm saying this, is actually bigger than him.
Yeah.
And is a better fighter.
Yeah.
And so there's always this intimidation factor, but then the fight, because the whole series builds up to these 2 guys having a fight. It is one of the best, like, bare knuckle fights I have seen in a very, because they don't do that, oh, well, we got to get it over quick because no, it lasts for a long, like, they're going to different locations and beating the living shit. It is amazing. Like, absolutely amazing. And I remember I looked at my wife, I was like, oh, that was good, man.
Yeah. Like, it scratched the itch.
Because you felt like you really were looking forward to it, and you earned it.
Yeah.
And it paid off in a way you're like, thank you for paying off.
I want to see him be Cable. I think he would make a great Cable.
He'd be a big Cable.
He's a giant.
I tell you, you could tell that they are trying to really get in the female viewer, because they have him shirtless in multiple scenes, and every time I saw him, I was like, that dude is gigantic.
It is so funny.
It's ridiculous.
Well, so this is hilarious to me, is watching people online, again, men online, especially younger men online, who look at Wolverine from X-Men, the original 90, the original 01, or no, it's just 2000, the original 2000 X-Men, and then Wolverine from any of the last 5 Wolverine movies, where he used to be like, he wasn't shredded, he wasn't even really that muscular, he was a little doughy, if anything, but he was in good shape, whereas now he's like carved out of marble.
I always say his top was Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
He was just insane.
Yeah, but it's so funny now to me to watch all of these, young men and boys look at this and be like, why can't we go back to the old way it was? I don't like having all these men dehydrated and on steroids that they look all ripped as shit. I don't like this. This makes me feel bad. And I'm like, dude, where do you think women have been, like, literally the entire time?
Yeah.
We've been doing this to them for fucking ever. And you have it done for like maybe 10 years, and you're like, okay, we've destroyed Henry Cavill's body with steroids. Haven't we gone too far? And it's like, okay, 'cause, like, if Henry Cavill tells me that his body's been destroyed by steroids, then we can have a conversation. But you don't get to come in here and be like, I don't like the female gaze. Calm down.
And I'm telling you right now, give me the steroided out freak instead of the 65-year-old Book of Boba Fett, Boba Fett fat guy.
Yeah.
Like, no. When I see a movie, if they're getting paid millions of dollars and it's okay health-wise for them to do it, fucking look like that.
We can't have athletes on steroids. We might as well have someone using them.
All our athletes on steroids. My main thing is my family and I sat down and watched the new Apple TV Plus. I don't even know. I'm just throwing words out.
Apple Disney
TV
Plus.
show. The movie The Fountain of Youth, which is John Krasinski and Natalie Portman and Donald Gleason, who is General Hux.
Donald Gleason,
he plays the money guy,
the financier.
Guess what his
is he the villain?
Oh my god! So
Steve, I can't believe it.
This movie, Guy Ritchie.
That's the thing that I was really annoyed about.
He is so hot and cold.
I know.
For every gentleman, he has a Robin Hood, or not Robin Hood, King Arthur movie.
Yeah, I like the King Arthur movie, but
it was okay, but it still wasn't.
I would say for every the gentleman, he has Aladdin.
Yeah,
and it's like it's because this seems to happen when he goes to a place for the money. When he's doing one for them, as it were.
Yes.
For anybody who doesn't know, in the old Hollywood, there used to be this rule of one for them, one for me, one for them, one for me. So you'd see this, a director like Howard Hawks who has this crazy arc of different films. And it's because he would make one for the studio, and then as a result, he would get to make one for himself. He'd go back and make one for the studio, make them happy, then he would get to make one of his own passion projects. Whenever Guy Ritchie goes and makes one for the studio, it's bad. You can tell he doesn't care. At least in my experience.
The only exception, I would say, would probably be the Sherlock Holmes movies. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
They're not great, but they're pretty good.
I really like them. I'm trying to decide. I guess it is studio. I guess it depends on which studio, right? Because it feels like with Disney and Apple and some of these more prestige pieces, whereas like Warner Brothers, when you're watching, we're gonna talk about Captain America: Brave New World later. Because it dropped on Disney Plus. And one of the things that I noticed while I watched it, or while it started rather, was that there weren't any other studios involved.
Yeah.
At the beginning of Sherlock Holmes, there's at least 3 studios involved besides Warner Brothers.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like, while they ponied up the dough, it was like they were the big distributor. They weren't necessarily controlling the day-to-day. So I wonder if it's like a day-to-day thing where it's like when Apple has their producers on set, or when Disney has their producers on set and they're telling Guy Ritchie to do things, he's just like, I don't fucking care. You put the camera wherever you want.
The thing that drove me nuts about this movie is whoever wrote this, it was obvious that they watched National Treasure and Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade.
Yeah.
Because this movie is, I'm not joking, a complete and total amalgamation of the two.
It looked like National Treasure.
So much.
Like, in the trailers, it was like, wow, this is just National Treasure.
But it's, like, the tone, everything is the same. Yeah, get Sean Bean out of there, put Gleason in there. Like, it truly is.
Yeah.
And that's what made it frustrating, is there was nothing original in this movie. Nothing. It had stupid shit, like Natalie Portman's ex-husband. Like, there was this little side thing about her ex-husband is like leaving her and he wants to take the kid, but then she gets the kid for the second half of the movie, and the kid of course solves some puzzles because he's a musical genius. And it's like all these tropes. Ugh. And then you have the female femme fatale who's hunting them, and then her and John Krasinski, whenever there's a fight, there's the, oh, do you feel a way about me?
Do you want to have sex?
Yeah, and it's, I mean, my kids loved it because, and I said to them, like, you'll love National Treasure if you love this movie. But, like, you're watching and you're like, there's nothing original in that movie.
Yeah.
And the action scenes are kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like, you could tell it had the Guy Ritchie touch to some of the things. It was kind of fun.
Well, it sounds like another, not Guy Ritchie, but off-brand Guy Ritchie, Matthew Vaughn, venture.
Yeah.
In what was that movie called? That movie
Argyle?
was called Argyle.
Yeah.
Where it's like it's just trope laden. None of it's really interesting.
Yeah, no.
The characters are extremely two-dimensional. When the most interesting thing to me in the trailer was that the leads were brother and sister, adult brother and sister. I was like, that's interesting. That's an interesting dynamic. And literally everything else looks like your basic by the books.
And where the Indiana Jones part is, there's a character at the end who, I mean, very close to shot by shot to the demise of Donovan. His death.
Yeah.
Almost shot for shot.
Yeah.
And there's a supernatural element to the ending, which is extremely similar
Does
to
the
the whole
Fountain
Sean
of
Connery
Youth
thing.
age you incredibly quickly or heal all your damage depending on what you do?
You just said it.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's where the whole like ending of Indiana Jones. So it really is like all National Treasure, and they do steal like artwork and stuff, which is very similar to how they stole it. You know, it's, you're watching it going, I can't believe they're doing this.
Yeah.
Like, can't you have original fucking idea?
Yeah.
Like, okay, the Fountain of Youth is the only original part of this idea, and they kind of did it in, what was it, the fourth Pirates of the Caribbean movie?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay,
Well, and it's
not
been
really...
done to death. It's been done here. It's been done there. So unless you're going to do it in a new, interesting way,
and they did not.
then you better just keep that genie in the bottle, because, or you can just try and sell the entire movie on tropes, which is what Apple seems to be doing with a lot of their stuff. Frankly, is just sell the thing on tropes. And not in like a fun, divergent way, like how Edgar Wright makes movies, but in a no, we're just following the tropes. This is the recipe book, and we're following the recipe.
And after I watched this, I was wondering, did they plan originally to have a theatrical release and then just said
Probably.
no? That's what my take is.
Yeah.
This doesn't look cheap though. Like
No.
it was a well-made movie.
Yeah.
And it had like the locations, the action, everything looked like they cost a lot of money.
Well, I genuinely think that some of these studios are not worried about revenue from theaters so much as they are just bringing people back onto the streaming platforms.
Yeah.
Which it sounds like is starting to have its own conniptions, where now, I noticed this recently, you can get a bundle that includes Hulu, Disney, and HBO. Now that's HBO again. All under one price, which is, that's cool. I when I was listening to Pablo Torre, they brought up that the reason they're doing this is because people cancel their subscriptions and then just renew it whenever they want to watch the one thing that they want to watch.
Which we were talking about we're going to do with Paramount Plus for Strange New Worlds.
Exactly. So, like, that is their way to try and get around that, is like, oh, if you have to cancel 3 subscriptions at once, then you're not going to do it. And I don't know any of the financing behind this, but it doesn't seem like they're worried about making money from theaters. And it seems like they're mostly trying to keep their streaming platforms strong, but they're doing it in weird ways. And then you have ones like Apple, where it's just like, how much of this movie was financed not by anything in terms of like the revenue from the theaters or the streaming platform, but just from Apple being a massive company.
Yeah.
Can Disney just take these hits because they're just a massive company?
I think so.
And it's just like, I just wonder, especially after watching Snow White and having seen more and more of Stitch's escapades as they were. It's bad. That is like
Which I found out today, the ending, she doesn't get to keep her. Lilo gets sent to the neighbor's house to live with the neighbor.
Sinful. Yeah. Absolutely sinful.
It's just
I can't stand it. It makes me crazy when they do this. So it's just like I just wonder what their long-term goals are, what their actual plan is. Do they have a plan? Because a lot of the time it doesn't feel like they have a plan.
Yeah.
It reminds me of how in Argyle they had Bryce Dallas Howard and Sam Rockwell have a Beatles song as their song. That was like their song that always played, and it woke her up from her, brainwashing, whatever. And it was the most recent Beatles song that Apple had gotten distribution rights to. And it's like, there's so much Beatles music that has been around since the 60s. You chose the song that's been out for 2 years.
Yeah. They have no shame.
What's wrong with like that? That fucking sucks.
They need to sell.
You need to sell. You can't sell the Beatles.
They need to sell.
You can't sell the Beatles.
New shit. You got to sell the new shit.
It just makes me crazy.
Dumb, yeah.
It just makes me crazy.
So this is a good little transition because we're going to talk about 3 trailers that Netflix dropped.
Yes.
For 2 movies, and which we think is a maybe show, or it might be 3 movies.
It's hard to say.
It's very tough to say.
It's starting to look like it's 3 movies.
So
which
we're talking about Stranger Things season 5.
I'm a little nervous about. That makes me a little anxious. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Which, well, I mean, if it's 3 feature-length movies, I'd be all right with that.
If it's 3 2-hour movies, but look at what season 4 was, like 8 to 10 episodes.
They were
Each of them were an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
So if it's just 3 2.5-hour long episodes, let's say it's on the long side and it's 3 2.5-hour long episodes, that's still not going to add up to your timeline on previous seasons. So I between the time jump and this and my own strong feelings about how much I love Stranger Things, I want to see them land the ship. I want to get the answers that we've all been craving for over 10 years now. And I'm a little, I look at this and I look at their penchant for, it doesn't matter whether people stay tuned in. It just matters whether they tune in.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not going to work. I'm just a little nervous. I really want it to work.
So what we're talking about is they are showing that they're going to be dropping part 1 in November, part 2 on Christmas, and part 3 on New Year's.
And it's unclear whether part 1 is a series of episodes or if part 1 is part 1.
Yeah.
Is it just one thing that's one part, and then there's going to be another one that's part 2, and then there's going to be a finale that's part 3?
Which I'm assuming in the next couple months we'll hopefully find out more details on exactly what they're going to be.
Yeah.
The trailer was cool because it showed pretty much like a run through of the first 4 seasons, and then a bunch of just quick clips
of what's coming,
which looks
good.
It looks
dope.
Yeah.
It looks fucking dope, and I'm super excited for it.
Yeah.
They got a fat kid on the team now.
Yeah.
Which is fun. You got a 90s style fat kid.
And they got, man, I have faith in these guys to land this ship.
I do too, because ultimately this is down to the Duffers.
Yes.
And unlike the Russos, who have kind of burned a few bridges with us recently, it's really just admitting. It's the admitting part that pisses me off. I'd rather have them admit it than not. But at the same time, it's the gall of like, yeah, we make things for people with short attention spans, which means that nothing can last more than 5 minutes. And it's like, that fucking sucks.
Well, all these shows now have a blueprint. Don't be Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, don't be Game of Thrones.
And yet I still kind of feel like Andor Season 2 has a lot of similarities to Game of Thrones Season 8.
It does, but I don't put that in the same context because if you think about...
It's almost the opposite scenario.
I mean, easily, fantasy-wise, the 2 most beloved shows in the last 20 years were Game of Thrones and Stranger Things.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's so similar in its path.
Yeah.
Except they have that blueprint
Just
now.
don't blow the landing.
Don't rush it. You don't have to make it bloated if you want 3 movies.
And that's the thing that I'm concerned with. Because I agree. If you can tell your whole story in 3 movies, fine. I'll be a little disappointed that everything could fit into 3 movies. I feel like that's a little anticlimactic. But fine. If this is like where season 8 of Game of Thrones, HBO was like, you don't have to have this be the last season. We can take more time. But McNulty and what I can't remember their fucking names. Demobits and Weiss or whatever. They were like, we're going to make a Star Wars. They didn't make a Star Wars. So we got to crush this thing right now. And boy, did they crush it.
They fucked it up.
Andor kind of has the opposite problem where they were like, we got tons of seasons planned. Disney was like, you get 1.
Yeah.
And so as long as Stranger Things doesn't fall into either of those extremes.
See, this is where I hope the difference is going to be. Every season of Stranger Things starts at a beginning, and they need to build up to whatever. Yeah. Season 4 ended with the world coming to an end. Yeah. So they're already starting on full footing going.
That's another thing is, when is the time jump?
Yes.
Is the time jump at the beginning of part 1? Is the time jump partway through part 1? Is there going to be kind of a back and forth where it's like, here's the time jump, but we're also going to flash back to other stuff? I understand that the time jump is necessary. The girl who plays Lucas's sister just graduated high school. she cannot play a 14-year-old. There's just no way. You have to do a time jump. I get it. But at the same time, I want to see this work out so well. And so often these days, I'm left being like, well, that sucked.
Yeah.
Thanks for ruining it. I'm just going to not pay attention to that. The crystal skull of it all. Okay. Of just like, I'm just going to annex this from the entirety of my life.
Yeah.
And in my life, there's going to be just these things. And then also, if you want to talk about it, there's this other shameful thing. As long as Stranger Things doesn't fall into... Yeah. As long as Stranger Things doesn't fall into another shameful thing. Yeah. That's my big thing.
They can't. Yeah. To me, they need to pull a Breaking Bad and stick the landing.
Stick it.
That's one of the few shows that have done it.
Yeah.
And for all these
decades. Yeah. Even Walking Dead, which just never stopped because they didn't know how to end the story. And they still don't, which is why there's like 16 different fucking spinoffs. Yeah. Because they don't know how to end it.
And people still watch because they're
people
dumb.
still watch.
I don't know
and
why.
I don't know if they're still sponsoring
I'll be honest,
Comic-Con.
I'm so tired of zombies thanks to stupid Walking Dead.
Yeah. Well, they went all in and we all suffered as a result.
Yeah, very much so. So moving on to the second one. So there is talking about things with a big span in between. It's Happy Gilmore 2.
Yeah. I joked to you when we finish this that we're going to have to explain to all of our kids why there's a 20-year jump between movies and sequels for so many movies from the 90s.
And they never work out. Like the only one that got close... Well, okay. Blade Runner worked out spectacularly.
Yeah.
That was the best example.
And they went hard against the formula.
Yes.
To the point where Harrison Ford is barely in the movie.
Yes. And that one definitely is the pinnacle you aim for.
Yeah.
One that wasn't bad in these, straight to streaming was the new Beverly Hills Cop. Mm-hmm. Wasn't good, but it was much better than everything else that's come before that.
Yeah.
And I know people are probably screaming, what about Top Gun Maverick? I didn't like Top Gun, the first movie, so I never saw Top Gun Maverick. So
I'm in the exact same camp. I watched Top Gun and I was like, this is what everybody's fucking crazy about.
So I can't give it an opinion on it.
No.
But yeah, so it, like I said when we watched it, there are a couple moments that you're like, this could be interesting. And then every other moment is like, you're fucking stupid for thinking that. Mm-hmm. This is going to be a by the numbers, rehashing old, like, you eat pieces of shit for breakfast, rehashing old jokes.
That hurt.
That was terrible.
Physically hurt when they did that.
That was terrible.
That was like, I wonder how much antacid Sandler had to swallow before delivering that line.
Hundreds of millions of dollars worth of antacid. Yeah. He was fine. And it's like, I remember the first time I saw the trailer, I was like, his caddy is Bad Bunny? Like, why? What is...
You might as well have had Taylor Lautner show up out of nowhere.
Bad Bunny is not my cup of tea music-wise. I don't... But the fact that, like, he's just everywhere now.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, maybe it could be funny. And they got a guy that looks like Richard Kiel, a.k.a. Jaws, who was in the first one. Uh-huh. Just a big, tall guy. And it's like, I don't know why. Like, why do they have to keep thinking they just have to rehash the old jokes?
There's no evolution of the joke.
Nothing.
The thing that looked like an evolution of the joke that I thought looked interesting was his son and his son's stupid friends. I thought that looked funny.
Yeah.
Where he's hanging out with these like 20-something-year-old guys and they're all just echo chambering his bad ideas together. And it's like, this looks funny.
Looks funny.
This looks like dumb Goodwill Hunting.
Yeah. And I do love the fact that John Daly plays like his best friend.
Yeah.
I love John Daly. So like that to me, I think could also be funny.
Yeah.
But I also got... Did you ever see That's My Boy?
No.
Okay, it actually wasn't a bad movie. I kind of enjoy it. But there is a cringy, same kind of vibe you get with John Daly in this.
Mm-hmm.
Rex Ryan is like his investor and friend or whatnot.
God.
And he has that kind of awkward, I'm a sports guy, but I'm going to act.
Gronk's going to show up somewhere in this.
There's Travis Kelce's in the scene.
Yeah, there you go.
So there's your Gronk.
Yeah.
But, he always likes putting Shaq and stuff in his movies. You might see him or something.
I forgot how many of his movies Shaq was in.
Shaq loves
I totally forgot there was a long period there where if Adam Sandler was making a movie, Shaq was one of the friends that got called.
I think, Grown Ups 2 or something like that.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, because this is what Adam Sandler is. It's just like he calls famous people up and he's like, "Do you want to make a movie?"
And I'll be honest, a lot of his friends, including like Rob Schneider and all them, and I don't necessarily like these guys. He's kept them in like working.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? He's kept them fed because their careers would have been right in the toilet.
Well, and like you look at some of these movies, like I look at Grown Ups 1, which is a movie I love for stupid reasons.
It's a dumb movie.
It's one of those movies where like you're in high school, you're in college, you have a little something, you sit on the couch with your buddy and you laugh about how stupid this is.
Yeah.
And you enjoy the fact that there's a Chris Farley type, which was a big thing at that point. It was like, oh, Kevin James is a Chris Farley type. Oh, we can do Chris Farley things with him. He's not as funny as Chris Farley, but like, it's close. I look at some Sandler movies and I'm just like, you're trying so not hard. Like it feels like you're trying hard, but when you look at it, it's like you're not trying at all.
No.
And so it's like, how can none of the jokes have advanced? How can you do another joke where he breaks the fingers off of the guy's wooden hand?
Yeah.
It's the exact same joke. It's the exact same joke.
And I think it's because he knows, and I apologize to people who are Adam Sandler fans, he knows I wouldn't say stupidity, let's say the laziness of his hardcore fans.
Yeah.
He knows he can just stand on screen in a bathrobe and shorts and talk in funny voices, and 10 million people will watch it.
But like rewatching, I recently rewatched Grandma's Boy.
Oh, I fucking love
and it's
Boy.
just like watching scenes like the stuff with Linda Cardellini when she gets stoned and drunk.
Yes.
That's a great scene.
That's a great scene.
And it's not just because Linda Cardellini is hot, which like we'll have another conversation about that. But like it's just a really funny sequence of events. And when the stoner friend, I can never remember his name. Dante, when he has the lion that he brought in to fight the monkey. It's like, this is awesome.
It's the fucking king of the jungle.
Where is this when you're making... Because it's the same group of people. Where is this kind of creativity?
That is, to me, still the most hidden gem of movies, Grandma's Boy. In fact, the funny thing is, my screen name on Xbox is Graybush.
Yeah.
And I was playing with my son and a couple of his friends, and they're like, who's Graybush? I hear one of them ask. I'm like, that's me.
Yeah.
I'll explain to you that joke later.
Yeah, we'll circle back on that.
Dude, I love that movie. You're right, and you know what? He was just a producer on that movie.
Exactly.
He wasn't even acting in it.
Like, because I'm thinking about it because the lead in Grandma's Boy was in Mr. Deeds. And he was
the caddy in the first Happy Gilmore.
Yeah. So like he's in that same camp.
Yep.
This was one of those projects where it's like it has the Happy Gilmore brand at the beginning, but no Adam Sandler. And it's just funny. Even the stuff that's like easy layup stuff, like Nick Swardson's having a race car bed. Even that stuff is fucking funny.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like it seems so simple, and yet the delivery on it is so well done. And then you look at this, and it's just like this isn't even lazy. This is a bad 92 Xerox copier.
And I think because he is trying for some reason to squeeze in like these emotional moments, like in Click, which I couldn't stomach, and all these like he'll try to put in these moments that it looks like his wife is dead. Julie Bowen, and like he sees her in heaven, and it's like, dude, like make Zohan.
Yeah,
there's nothing at all sad or sweet in Zohan, and it's awesome.
It's really hard for me to feel bad about Adam Sandler being trapped in this cycle when he's in Click, where he keeps on jumping forward in time because the remote has an auto feature.
Yeah.
After he paused and farted in David Hasselhoff's face for like 45 seconds.
Yeah.
Like that was a chunk of the film.
Yeah.
And it's just like...
It's so bad. And that his wife is Kate Beckinsale, so go fuck yourself.
Well, and then you get into the Spanglish of it all. It's like, how does he get these hot women to come and play his wife?
I don't know.
Julie Bowen, Selma Hayek.
The Selma Hayek one still to this day makes me cringe. It's like, please.
Come on.
Selma Hayek, please. So that movie, we'll see it, but I don't know what we're going to think of it.
That's going to be one of yours.
But the gem
yes.
of the drop
This was the good one.
And I forgot this is a Netflix movie, but Benicio del Toro is his Frankenstein.
Yes.
And it's Oscar Isaac as Victor Frankenstein.
Yeah.
And it has Christoph Waltz, which I can't remember what his...
He might be the monster. He might provide the voice of the monster. Or he's going to be one of the town people.
He might be something. He's got to be something. Because I think the monster is an actual standalone.
He's going to be the Meisterburger. The Burger Meister.
Nice. But that trailer looked fucking awesome.
That looked dope, and I love Guillermo del Toro.
Or Guillermo del Toro. It's Benicio. I keep screwing that up.
I love Guillermo.
Yeah.
He's one of those directors where it's very hard for me to be like, really, dude, this was your best attempt. Like even stuff like Crimson Peak, which isn't one of his like big mainstays for people. I still love that movie.
Oh, it's a great movie.
It's a great.
I actually like that better than Shape of Water. Shape of Water is good.
I really like Shape of Water for a variety of reasons. Sally Hawkins' performance is just
really good,
extremely good, considering she talks for literally one scene in the entire movie.
Yeah.
And Octavia Spencer is so good too.
Oh, yeah.
And even the cutaways to Richard Jenkins are really good and set a really fun tone and sense to this movie of like this character who's gay, who can't come out as gay, who keeps on trying to test those waters and getting rejected. And it's just, I can't help it. But that's every Del Toro movie. You know, you look at something like Pan's Labyrinth.
Oh my God.
And it's like that thing is just laden with subtext and ideas and concepts.
So
and it's just like you expect it to be like like groaning under the weight of all of the things that he's putting into these movies. And I cannot wait for this. This looks so good. Like,
it really does.
Even as I'm watching the trailer, my brain is already like, okay, that frozen battle scene is incredible.
Yes.
That's incredible. But like, is that him going to create a bunch of monsters? Is that where he harvests all the parts for the one monster? What's the sequence of events? We see a lot of him in the Arctic. We see a lot of him in prison. So I'm so curious. The scene that was right out of the Del Toro, the Benicio Del Toro Wolfman, where he's in this big surgery amphitheater and he has something hooked up.
There's something under the,
I'm just like, I'm instantly in.
Dude,
Like, you
so
had
good.
me when you said Frankenstein Del Toro.
Yeah.
That was it. I didn't need anything else, but then I see this and I'm like, well, now I'm like triple in. Like, this looks incredible.
And this is actually a great thing that they kept, because he originally was signed on to direct Frankenstein for that dark universe that failed.
Yeah.
So obviously they kept it, and I want to say Javier Bardem was supposed to be the monster.
Yes,
but that is obviously.
And then
changed.
Angelina Jolie was going to be the lady,
bride or something
the bride.
Like that. But this looks so much better.
Yeah,
like and I love Oscar Isaac. He looks great.
Oh, he looks so good.
He
in
looks
this.
amazing.
He looks so great. And I can't get over the visuals that they use in the trailer.
Yeah.
The visuals are just so striking. It has a lot of that same feeling as Nosferatu. It looks like these could take place in corners of the same universe.
I agree.
At times. And it's just beautiful. It's dark. It's haunting. It's mysterious.
Yep.
It's disgusting. It's enticing. You can't look away.
And what I love is you never see the monster's face, but you see his brutality.
You see
in
its
that
form
final scene,
and
where he's just beating the shit out of all those sailors.
Yeah,
like that was fucking intense.
I'm super excited.
Dude, I can't wait.
I cannot wait to see what happens. It's a November drop.
I know, everything's November.
I know. Hey, you got to get that. You got to get that Oscar buzz going.
We're gonna have some serious fucking content in November between that and Stranger Things.
Oh yeah,
Jesus.
We're gonna have a whole like month and a half of content. Hey, we haven't watched Witcher season 3. We haven't done What If season 3. We haven't done fucking so many things.
See, I've done Witcher season 3, and that thing sucked balls.
Was it bad?
Balls.
Okay. See, I still have to watch it. I haven't watched it yet. I'm still living in this fantasy world of, hey, the fans of the books hate it, but I like it.
Yeah. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Especially knowing how much he hated it.
When Cavill's gone, I'm gone.
Yeah.
I'm not coming back for Hemsworth. But that's what I'm saying is like, I would watch season 3 because Cavill's still in it. But like, the fact that I was talking to people about this recently, the fact that Cavill was essentially just a human encyclopedia for this thing on set that you could use to make a really good piece that's really authentic to the original source material. Yeah. And you were like, stop cramping our style. We want to murder this thing in peace, and you're telling us how best to do it? No, we're going to butcher this thing like a first year butcher artist character. I don't know what do butchers go to school. Who fucking knows? Apprentice. A first day apprentice to a butcher. He's just hacking the whole thing away.
Well, and I'll be honest, you could tell season 3 something was up because there's much less Cavill in it.
Yeah.
They more focus on the relationship between Yennefer and
Ciri. Yeah.
And they're making Ciri to be
the new main character.
She's in the next video game.
Yeah.
She's going to be the lead.
But that's the authentic evolution of the series. It would seem from an outside perspective. I'm sure there's people that would be like, "You don't get it, filthy casual. Get out of my thing."
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah.
We can't know everything, goddammit.
I'm about to do that for Marvel, so hey, you know.
Speaking of which, all right, folks.
Who's ready to slam some doors?
So, recently, Al reminded me, and I had it marked for the 28th, knowing that Brave New World was going to be released, and I just blissfully forgot about it until you sent me that text message.
Well, Disney heard us. It's good to know that Disney is listening to the show. Yeah. Because they heard us say at the end of last week's show, we don't have anything else from Disney, so I don't know what we're going to do. And Disney was like, hi. Oh, my ears are burning. I lit a Q-tip so I could see inside.
I got a lot burning after this movie. Yeah. So we watched Brave New World.
Yes. You chafed like some of those costumes looked like they chafed?
I got to say, I'm glad and sad with Harrison Ford.
I would mostly agree with that, actually.
I think he was the best part of the movie.
Okay.
His acting I thought was really good.
His acting was really good.
Was fantastic.
Yeah.
But he is too goddamn old.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be this character for, like, future movies.
Yeah.
And watching him, I'm like, he's fucking old.
He's so old.
And I love the guy, but man.
Well, and there's an entire portion of the plot of the movie which is just about how he should have died years ago.
Yeah.
Which I have weird feelings about with William Hurt having actually died years ago.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
But, like, I agree with you. I think Harrison Ford embodies the character really well.
Yes.
And the arc that he goes through is a really interesting arc. Here's the thing. We're actually a little bit on different sides of this because I gave this movie a B-. I don't know what you gave it, but I walked out of this movie with a B- with a lot of checks for recurring issues. I just kept turning to Kelly and being like, what year is it? How long has it been since the Celestial came out of the ocean?
A solid C,
yeah.
Maybe C-.
Yeah. So I like the story that they tell. I think the story is really good. I like that it's this thing where the leader was arrested the night in Harlem. I've been wondering forever where the leader's been in all of this. Ross tucked him away in his own little bunker. I'm totally in. This is great. I'm totally down for all of this. Ross made him a promise and then didn't keep it, so now all this chaos is happening. I'm in. Mm-hmm. This is great. It's when you get into even stuff like him trying to make Ross into everything he hates. I'm like, this is great. This is good storytelling. This is just genuinely good storytelling.
I'm going to agree with everything you said.
It's when you get into
everything else.
The Joaquin of it all.
Yes.
When you get into the Ruth Seraph of it all. It's these moments where you're just like, man, this is not good storytelling.
Yeah. And I love Batman and Robin, which I'm going to refer to these two as.
Yeah.
I love Anthony Mackie.
I love Anthony Mackie. He was great. He was great throughout the whole thing.
He was, except for they are making his Captain America into you need to give a speech.
Yes. He talks his way out of every situation.
Way too much.
Yeah.
And it got so fucking annoying between that and good old Marvel. All right, you have this awesome helmet. Take it off so they can see your face in battle. It's like, dude.
Well, like, they even won me over with the helmet, because when I first saw that he had a full face mask like every superhero does now, I rolled my eyes. I was like, well, this is fucking stupid. He doesn't need that. But, like, he is traveling at Mach speeds. He is flying. He does need to have an actual full face mask.
Exactly.
So I'd be annoyed if he didn't have it, frankly. But, like, I agree with you. It's just the nanotech is too much.
Yes.
And Joaquin is obnoxious.
He's so obnoxious.
He's so obnoxious. And, like, when we started it, Kelly was like, who's he? And I'm like, here's the thing. We don't know.
Yeah.
Because he's from Falcon Winter Soldier, but when the show starts, he's already part of the team.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about him. He's just a friend of Sam's who Sam brought in as just a guy. And we literally find out nothing about him throughout the entire show. And now he's Falcon. He's one of the main characters in this.
Yeah.
We know nothing about him now, but he talks all the time. And he's a fucking idiot. Spoiler alert, Joaquin blows himself up for literally no reason. It's not a heroic act. It's not like he's doing something that no one else can do.
Made it look like a heroic act.
They wanted you to think it was a heroic act, but Sam was also within range to stop the explosion. And he was at a better position where he wouldn't, be in the explosion.
Yeah.
And so Joaquin diffuses this bomb from 2 feet away, and then it blows up. And he falls into the Indian Ocean. And you're just like, this would be really emotional if I knew who the fuck this guy is.
Yeah.
I don't know jack shit about this guy. Why the fuck should I care? This is not Rhodey falling through the sky in Civil War. And you're like, is anybody going to catch him? Is anybody going to catch him? And then he lands and you're like, is he okay? Did Rhodey just die?
Yeah.
What just happened? Because we had known Rhodey for almost 10 years at that point. We knew Rhodey. We knew where he came from, what his background was, who he was as a person. I don't know shit about Joaquin. You could have told me about Joaquin at any moment. You haven't. You've purposely seemingly gone out of your way not to tell me about him.
Yeah.
But you have him as such a huge part of this story, and I hate him for it because he's just like, he's obnoxious. He talks all the time. He's not funny. He's never funny once. The whole, like, he's trying to explain to Isaiah Bradley how airdrop works. And it's just like, this sucks, man. This isn't funny.
And that's the thing is, there was a lot of that stupid Marvel humor in there.
Yeah.
With the airdrop and him not figuring out his phone. It's
Yeah.
like, fuck. I do...
And his costume sucked.
His costume was...
His
and
costume
I don't
was
remember
terrible.
Anthony Mackie ever wearing that costume.
No.
So he said it's your old costume.
Did he say that?
Yes.
I missed that line.
He said
That's
it was his old
bullshit.
costume.
That, I guess maybe from when he was in the Air Force.
That could be.
Like way back. Before he was a counselor, before he met Steve Rogers,
Yeah.
like way back. Because this doesn't look like any of his costumes. Falcon never wore anything nearly as stupid looking as
And
this.
it's like, to me, I think one of my problems is you can't build up a character like Chris Evans, Captain America.
Yeah.
Good old Steve Rogers. And you build up a separate character of the Falcon, who I love as just that character.
Yeah.
I just didn't put the two together in the movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I would have almost rather there was a separate Captain America with the Falcon. Because, and it's not like I don't think Anthony Mackie deserves everything he gets, but watching him in these fight scenes and all that, it's like, you don't have this super soldier serum.
Yeah.
You're getting stabbed multiple times. You have a broken rib.
Yeah.
And you're shaking it off within a day.
Well, and like my favorite is when he gets hit by Giancarlo Esposito.
Yeah.
And he gets hit with a tomahawk in the stomach. And he's like walking around fine. And even Giancarlo is like, I didn't know that you could do that. And he's like, oh, I have carbon fiber clothing. What?
No.
So you're just walking around with carbon fiber clothes?
But that doesn't make sense because the tomahawk fucking went inside of him.
Yeah.
It was in him.
Yeah.
Is the carbon fiber clothes fucking heal you?
Yeah. And
Like,
he's just
that
walking
whole
around.
Scene, like, that's the part that was really getting to me. Because I'm like, you know, and they could kind of hide it a little bit in the Falcon and Winter Soldier. Can't hide it in this movie.
No, and like they try and work with it. I like the concept of the plot line. Here's where I come down in this movie with a lot of things. The concept is strong. The execution is weak.
Yes. I agree with you on that.
We're gonna get to.
I just think the weakness pushed my grade down further because
definitely.
it's so weak.
Definitely. We're gonna get to adamantium in a little bit.
Yeah.
But I look at this concept of the conflict that Cap has in this movie is, would I be a better Captain America if I took the super soldier serum?
Yes.
And I think that's a really interesting, novel argument to have, especially when he has all of these suit modifications that allow him, when he's in his suit, to be,
He's almost like Iron Man and Captain America in one.
Combined, yeah. And I kind of like that. I kind of like that he's this symbol of peace that isn't an augmented human. He's just doing things with technology and the resources available to him, even though he has some serious resources, enough so that I feel like the Dallas Cowboys are going to sue him over the giant star in his hideout.
Yeah.
That's a little on the nose, don't you think?
Especially
if this is supposed to be in any way a secret bunker of any kind. It's probably not, but like still, it just the Dallas Cowboys called. They want their logo back.
Yeah.
And also, Cap had logos, and they were way better than this. So this is not good. Scrap this. Get this out of here. Try again. I like the concept of the storytelling, but I would be lying if I said I didn't have a ton of moments in this movie where I was like, I understand that vibranium absorbs kinetic energy, but there's just no way that he can take a punch from the Hulk as long as he's just behind the shield. There's just... I want to believe so badly, but it's just a little too far.
And that's where the disconnect was also, because even though Super Soldier Serum is a made-up thing, knowing that Captain America has this extra healing ability, extra strength, extra agility, and whatnot.
Can think through problems faster.
Makes some of the fantastical things and some of the fight scenes say, okay, I get it. Why he's not dead, like the end of Falcon and Winter, or not Falcon, Captain America and Winter Soldier, where he's pretty much fucked up,
where he falls
into the water.
Out of the sky into the fucking Potomac.
Captain America, he will survive it. Yeah. Anthony Mackie in these scenes, it's like that's where it's like, dude, he is just a dude.
When he gets buried at the end of the movie, without going into the spoilers of why, and they have to dig him out, I'm just like, he should be in really rough shape.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't have his helmet on. He has, like, his sleeves pulled up because I don't know why. It's, I guess, a fashion choice to have his sleeves pulled up. I'm not really sure about that. Is it because it was the Cap uniform that he wore when he was on the run, but it had all of the White Star and the emblems? I don't know. I'm a little confused by it, but that's fine. I liked this movie by and large. I like Mackie's performance a lot. I think he's really good. I agree with you. It did fall into this new Disney trope that they're trying to pull on us without pulling, where they're like, we don't need a big fight to end a movie. We can talk our way out of a problem and still have it be climactic. It's like, I don't know that that's always true, because you did it in Snow White and you did it here. And I agree in concept. It's better to move away from violence as a resolution to a problem. I understand that impulse. It's a good impulse. But we're talking about entertainment.
Yeah.
And so if we're talking about entertainment, I think we have to have a different conversation.
And you're introducing the Red Hulk, and you're not going to have him fight somebody with abilities.
Yeah. Which, like, again, I think is an interesting concept, but the execution on it, I'm just left being like, I don't know that I buy this.
But like you were saying, even with the concept, he hits him once, he's fucking dead.
Yeah. He even says that.
Yeah.
He even says that when he's trying to talk him down. He's like, you can punch me and I'll die.
Yeah.
And it's like,
But even hitting the shield, your arm would fucking shatter.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Like, I get it. The all the kinetic energy is pulled into the wings and the shield. I feel like with the air pressure from the punch is less able, so he should be being pushed back constantly. Yes. Even if the punches aren't necessarily being the thing that pushes him back, the force behind the punch should still be pushing him back in some way. I end up kind of feeling conflicted over it, because I like it. I just wish that they had done it a little better, a little cleaner. The fight scenes aren't bad, but it's moments like, why do bullets bounce off but his little feathers that he shoots?
Yeah.
Why do those go into the Hulk? And isn't it so convenient that the Hulk pulled all of them out except for the one that Cap needed at the end of the fight to win?
Yeah.
And it's just moments like this where you're just like, I don't mind this, but I definitely feel like this is sloppy. Like how he didn't save any of the civilians at the Washington Monument when a bunch of debris fell from approximately 11 stories up on people who are literally right below it. Not gonna do. I feel like you should stop and help with that as, a superhero. And this is not My Hero Academia where someone's gonna come along and clean that up. That's a real actual problem that I think needed to take your attention and priority. So I just end up being like, I like your thought process. I really thought the only reason I don't think Harrison Ford was the best part of the movie is because I think Tim Blake Nelson was the best part of the movie. I really love his version of the leader.
He was great, but it's just they didn't have enough of him.
He's not in a lot of it, but it's like Heath Ledger's Joker, where it's just like he's in enough of it to make an impression. I like that the cue song that he uses is Mr. Blue, which is a great aside to the original. I really like that they do stuff here, but it's like how at the beginning when they're setting up the story, they say that General Ross has had conflicts with Captain America, and that whole thing with the Hulk. I feel like that whole thing with the Hulk would be the thing that we lead with.
Yeah, that's the first thing.
And then we would talk about in recent days he's also had trouble with Captain America.
It's not a Hulk movie.
But it is, isn't it?
Yeah,
isn't it kind of also a Hulk movie? It's a little.
You do get Liv Tyler.
They should have called it Gamma World.
Yeah.
And done the plot differently, where he's not just trying to poison the president, he's trying to make everybody gamified, because that was a thing that Tim Blake Nelson's leader was looking to do in The Incredible Hulk all the way back in 2008. That was his whole thing, was like, I want to harvest all this blood from Banner, and Banner's like, hate this. This is terrible. And you immediately see that they are on two distinct sides of what Gamma can do. I wanted something like that. It ends up being more small scale, more minutia based of like, I'm trying to get revenge on just this one person, which works, but is also less interesting in a lot of ways. So
I agree.
It's a good spy movie, but it does end up having a lot of problems too.
Well, I will be honest, I directly compare it to, I think its most direct comparison is The Winter Soldier.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
And this doesn't hold a candle to that in any way.
It really wants to be the Winter Soldier, and it's really not.
And I do, I liked Carl Lumbly as Isaiah Bradley. I thought he was fine.
He's great. Job. He's always great.
I even really like Giancarlo Esposito as Sidewinder. They said those scenes, it is obvious they were added in, but I didn't dislike him as the Sidewinder.
And it definitely works. I just, again, this is where we start getting into that conflict of, can Anthony Mackie take a punch from the Hulk?
Yes.
This is the Serpent Society. I got really excited when you said Serpent Society, and then they're just mercenaries. Have it be AIM. If you're just going to do that, if you're just going to have it be a nameless...
AIM with Iron Man
but
3.
That's what I'm saying. Take another swing at it.
Yeah.
Have them have advanced technology that they're using to fight Captain America. So it's more interesting than just a group of mercenaries in black shooting bullets. If you're going to do the Serpent Society, then I'm expecting you to do Lady Viper, and I'm expecting you to do Hydra, especially in a Captain America movie. There's all these things that would go with the Serpent Society if you're going to do that. Also, we haven't even gotten to the fact that they're not snake people. Like, we haven't even touched on the fact that they're not snake people.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm double disappointed in a lot of ways because you got me excited because Serpent Society, great. I love this. We're going to do it. And then you don't do it.
Yeah, you don't do
and
it.
It's just like, God damn it. You already have a bunch of these on the trash pile. Go back to the trash pile, brush one off, and be like, I can still use this one. This one's still good. Like, it will make your movie better.
I guarantee you, most people won't remember Iron Man 3, and that AIM was even said.
Well, and like, if you did, what's the biggest thing that's going to happen? People are going to be like, oh, I remember AIM.
Yeah.
And it makes your world more deep. And it shows you where they've been and what they've been doing and how they've gone from this weird, almost radicalized group to a deeply radicalized group.
Yeah.
You should be doing so many interesting things with it, and you're just not. And it's just a real bummer because you could be doing really cool things, and you're not.
And I'm making my score a solid C instead of a C- because they did do two things that you and I have always asked them to do. Mention the blip, which he mentions briefly. And then mention the Celestial coming out of the ocean.
They did. See, this was one of the things that I really wanted. Marvel has been eschewing this whole issue. They finally addressed it. They finally said some of the things that we've been waiting for, but not in a meaningful way, which is a bummer because I would love to find out that the way that Ross won the presidency is by coming up with a solution between the people that were snapped and the people that weren't snapped, and finding a middle ground between carrying on as everything was after 5 years and trying to go back to the way it was before the snap. That's really interesting politically in terms of trying to navigate that. We don't do that. That's not here. Instead, we have this whole argument over the Celestial and the Indian Ocean, which, like, great, okay, so now this means something. And once again, Marvel pulls a Black Widow and just botches it. They have everything in front of them.
Yeah.
They have the whole table set. All they have to do is make the one logical decision, and instead they go for the bright, shiny strobe light in the corner, and they're like, I'm going to dance in this. And it's like, no. You don't need adamantium. Adamantium is a bunch of things, but more than anything else, it's something that you would have had access to, okay? Yeah. This wouldn't have been the first thing that you could have had access to for adamantium. What you could have done was essentially rebuild the Antarctic vibranium, which is known as antimetal. You think a thing called antimetal might have huge implications on a geopolitical scale between different countries? Mm-hmm. A thing that literally dissolves metal of any kind, any hardness, any type. It just dissolves it. Even vibranium pales in comparison to antimetal. You're not going to do any of that. That was the clear, easy layup. It's vibranium, but it has the opposite effect of vibranium.
See, their easy layup and the exact perfect example is my son. As soon as he heard adamantium, he's like, "Oh my god, adamantium!"
Yeah.
That's what they were.
But
going
that's
for.
fucking stupid.
It is, but that's
fucking dumb.
That's what they were going for.
I know, and that's why I call it a big shiny strobe light, because all the 10-year-olds are like dancing in the strobe light. Yeah. Oh, we're all having fun. And all the rest of us are like, yeah, but that gives me a headache, and I'm really interested in this other thing. This movie is not made for 7 to 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
You know, so like...
And like when he's... And I think if you're going to bring up adamantium, you had an opportunity to, when he's giving his speech before he gets attacked, and he's talking about adamantium, he could shout out one of our lead scientists, William Stryker.
Yeah.
Because he's known for being one of the few humans that can actually manipulate adamantium.
Yeah.
That's your chance to get... And people will hear William Stryker and be like, isn't that from fucking X-Men? Yeah.
America and Canada have formed an alliance in the study of adamantium. And we're putting it into the hands of Reverend William Stryker, and I can't remember the guy who's actually behind Weapon X. But they have a new secret government project that is a combination between the Canadian and American scientists to figure out how we can use adamantium moving forward. It's called Project X. Okay!
Or you could even be super nerdy and call it Project Alpha Flight.
Yeah!
And then I would have came in my pants right there if they would have said that.
Like, that's so... You could have done something so cool with that.
And it would have just been one line.
One thing.
Insert that
one little
line.
thing. We're just looking for world building at this point.
Yeah.
We want world building. We want you to use the world that you've made. I kept on turning to Kelly and being like, oh, and what year is it? Because I don't fucking know.
They never have a year.
How long ago was the blip? When did the Celestial come out of the ocean in comparison to where you are in the timeline right now? Because I hop all over this timeline. All right, I need specifics. I need a newspaper to open up like the 1930s.
I don't think anyone has any idea what year it is.
I don't think at Marvel they don't know what year it is.
That's what I mean. The writers, they have no idea.
No idea.
What year they're in.
They've fully lost the thread. They have no idea when the series of events happen. They kind of know the general gist of what happens when.
Yeah.
But there's no continuity to the timeline.
No, not even a little bit.
And it's just like, how did you guys get worse than Fox at this? You're worse than Fox. How did you do that? Think about that for a minute.
That's pretty
That's
impressive.
crazy that you're worse at keeping a timeline maintained than Fox. And all because of the blip. That was the reason that all of this became a problem. Before then, you could kind of generally, I say generally, use a 1-to-1 ratio, right? And I say generally because the movies that came out in 2011 didn't take place in 2011. Mm-hmm. They take place in 2009 because they take place at the same time as Iron Man 2.
Yes.
And Iron Man 2 takes place roughly a year after Iron Man 1, which we establish as being canonically at the same time as it came out in theaters, 2008. So these events, Thor, Hulk in Harlem, Iron Man 2, Captain America, those all happen roughly between 2009 and 2010. So you can kind of go on. Avengers reestablishes that now it's 2012. So we do know that we're back on schedule. We know where we are in the timeline and why some things have progressed in a certain way and why some things haven't. Through phase 3, it's essentially a 1-to-1. Everything essentially takes place at the same time, with the exception of Homecoming, which takes place in this weird nebulous bubble zone. And then the blip happens, and ever since then they were just like, fuck it. Fuck it. Yeah. We can't be bothered. We can't fucking be bothered to add 5 and keep track of what year it is.
The only movie that you know what year it is Endgame.
Yeah.
Because it's 5 years.
Because they tell us it's 5 years later.
Yeah, that's it.
So we know it's 5 years after 2018. So we know it's 2023.
Because I'm trying to think, even in Black Widow, do they say...
They don't say what year it is, because that all takes place before Infinity War.
But what I'm trying to remember, isn't that one supposed to be in between the first Avengers? No.
It's between Civil War and
yeah.
Infinity War.
So whatever time that's in, at least that one is...
it takes place sometime around 2017.
Yeah.
They don't tell us that, but it's implied by the nature of the storytelling, which you can't get away with here. Yes. We don't have a second end on the cap to be like, okay, so it takes place between this point and this point. We need you to establish when this is. When is this happening? Is Wilson Fisk currently running for mayor? Did he just get elected mayor? Was that last year? Because Daredevil took place over the course between Christmas, New Year's, and into the spring. So is this the same spring as all of that happening in New York? And so now the president was Ross and is now whoever Ross's secondary was. And Fisk is mayor of New York, and I guess Bucky's running for Congress, which, like, I guess cool.
Yeah.
Do it, I guess. But, like,
that's, I believe in Thunderbolts, he's
a congressman. Yeah.
And that's how he gets
a whole team.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Or
you could do Helmut Zemo trying to work off his sentence. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's true. I'm so confused with the goddamn timeline right now.
Right?
I'm trying to just think about
when did Secret Wars happen?
Oh god,
or Secret Invasion rather.
Secret Invasion happened right before the Marvels.
Yeah.
Because he's in that space station.
Yeah.
But when did the Marvels happen?
We can guess.
That's right after. Well, the Marvels happened right after the Kamala Khan. But when did that one?
When did that happen? Well, the one that gets me is, when does Shang-Chi take place?
Oh, Jesus.
When in the timeline is that? Is that as close to after the blip as possible, which is kind of what it feels like?
I think so, because Bruce is still in his cast.
Yeah.
But he's not Hulk anymore. He's back to Banner.
So it's definitely post Endgame. But again, that in that movie, they don't establish any of that until we see Banner in the post-credit scene with his arm in a sling.
Yeah.
That's the first moment where we can kind of look at it and be like, oh, this is where we are in the timeline.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's very dicey where we are in the actual timeline. But that's every movie right now. Is like, if I wanted to assume that everything took place a year after or within the same ratio of time as we experience them as movies as when the events take place, even then it's like, so it's like 2027 there or something. And no, it'd be almost 2030 at this point. And I'm just kind of trying to figure out what Spider-Man been doing for the last 4 years, because we haven't seen him since No Way Home, when he had his whole history rewritten. So what has he been doing during this whole time?
And you bring up a good point when you're talking about the timelines. If this does happen the same time Daredevil does, when Ross becomes president, he wouldn't mention, oh, and there's shit going on in New York.
We're going to take care of what's happening in New York.
Like, that's not a concern at all.
This isn't a huge mecca.
You're worried about getting this medal when one of your major cities is melting down and there's this criminal running thing.
Even if we account for the fact that they say in Daredevil that population in New York is down because it became such a mecca for bad things to happen, that people started moving out of the city, including businesses. Even if we take that into account, there's still a huge populace of people in business that would still be coming out of New York City. Enough that Wilson Fisk still wants it. Wilson Fisk hasn't changed and been like, Cleveland is where all the people are now. I'm going to go take over Cleveland. I'm going to go become the mayor of Detroit and work my way up the system. No, he goes straight for the apple. That's what he wants. And so, I don't know. The timeline stuff is just so frustrating at this point that it is like a full letter grade anytime they don't address it. It's like, okay, so you're still not talking about that, so that immediately brings you down to a B, and we'll see what you do with that.
See, and I think my problem I'm having is mainstream Marvel movies, because I did also a couple days ago rewatch Deadpool and Wolverine, which is still spectacular. A mainstream Marvel movie has to hit a lot of positives for me to give it a better than C grade. Yeah. Like, it needs to be like a Werewolf by Night or a Deadpool and Wolverine. It can't be this... Yeah, it's, because I agree with you. Like, the base storyline and idea was great. The execution was dog shit. Yeah. And I think that's where I'm like, I don't care how good the story is if you can't do something with it. Because it's not necessarily just the through line story. It's all the little fill-ins. Yeah. And if the filling... So it's like a donut. You have the best donut in the world, but if you take a big shit in the middle and that's your filling... Yeah, it ain't gonna taste good.
And Joaquin is the big shit in the middle of this movie.
But like a lot of it, like the typical tropes where it's like, oh my god, are they gonna make it? And then they make it, and oh my god, is he gonna live? And then he lives, and then Anthony Mackie's gotten stabbed 3 times and broken a rib, but he's going to fight the Hulk now. It's like
without wincing once.
Shit.
Yeah. No, that is bullshit. When you add it all up like that, it really sounds stupid. Yeah. When you put it all together and you're like, okay, let's take this out of the context in which it's presented and just take it as what is being presented. Yeah. That's bad storytelling.
It is.
That doesn't make any sense. And once again, we're left with the same question we keep on being left with. Where's everyone else? No one else can step up and help with this? No one else is interested in what's going on? Wong doesn't have a vested interest in any of this shit happening? none of it. She-Hulk's not going to chime in. There's going to be nothing from anybody in the entire universe
I know
anywhere.
There's some post-credit shit about the Thunderbolt characters in Captain America, because Captain America is still looked at as, and I know Ross wanted him to rebuild the Avengers, and that's a big thing in this. He would still be in contact with whatever remaining Avenger, like Ant-Man. They mention Ant-Man
so many times.
No Ant-Man?
No Ant-Man.
Anywhere?
Nothing.
No Wasp. It's like, dude, you have all these other... Like you said, where the fuck are they?
Where is everybody?
And you could get away with this in the first phase.
The universe was small.
It was small. But then, like, second phase with, like, Thor the Dark World is where you're like, okay.
Nobody's going to show up to this.
And that's where it began, and it kind of just spiraled from there.
Yeah.
And now it's to the point where it's laughable.
Yeah.
With Daredevil, and we're like, dude.
Well, like, we haven't watched Thunderbolts, but one of the things that I saw that was brought up very pointedly is that the finale of that movie takes place in New York City.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of people in danger, and just no one shows up.
Nope.
But we're supposed to applaud that Kristen Ritter is back for Jessica Jones. I'm glad. That was one of the things that we complained loudly about, was that Kristen Ritter wanted to come back, and they hadn't brought her back, and there wasn't really a reason not to. So they're bringing her back. Great. Why this? Why this approach? Why wasn't she in season 1? Why wasn't she already back? Why are you acting like you didn't have a plan, even though you said you had a plan? Yeah. You said you had 3 18-episode seasons. That's what you said.
In like the beginning or the ending of that first season of Daredevil, when he walks out and looks at the bar, if she was standing there against the bar drinking, that would have been
enormous. You wouldn't have even had anybody else in the room. It would have just been Jessica, and it's just like, that's one.
And you didn't need to write her any dialogue?
No.
Just have her turn and look at the camera. We all would have just screamed.
Well, I love the idea of her kind of Ocean's 11 style. Like, she turns to the camera, she has the drink.
Yeah.
She says 1. He says, that's 1. Cut. Okay, so that's 1. That means there's going to be more. That means we're going to get more capes into this whole situation, which is what we desperately want. And so I wish here's the same thing every time with Marvel. Every time with Marvel, it's the same complaint. I wish you weren't afraid of being a superhero property.
Yeah.
You are terrified of being a superhero property, and I don't understand it. When shows like Invincible and My Hero and One Punch Man take more time in consideration of the worlds that they build and the way that superheroes would act within a society of any kind. You haven't addressed that. After all this time, you still haven't really addressed it.
Nope.
You kind of hint and wink at it, but the ruse that you keep on trying to sell us is that the world runs as normal as much as possible. Mm. And there are some people that are like, this is a disaster waiting to happen. We need to have an Avengers group together because it's going to happen again at some point. And yet Marvel seems to be on the camp of like, it's fine. We don't need to address any of this shit. None of it's a problem. Don't look under any of the floorboards. Don't inspect any of the house. It is definitely up to code. We definitely haven't rushed anything or forgotten to do anything or tied off any loose ends. And we definitely have wired safely the entire house with electricity. Yeah. It won't burn down. We promise. Fingers crossed.
No, they're just dumb. Yeah. Like, there's no vision. There's no, like, Kevin Feige, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I know you're getting all your flowers for the first few phases, but
you got to step aside.
Gone off the rails,
it's time. It's time to step aside. You're done.
You've allowed money to overtake quality.
Yeah.
And you're just...
He's become the Bill Belichick of the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
At the end of his time in New England. There was a time there where it was like, man, if every team had a Bill Belichick, can you imagine? Can you imagine if DC had a Kevin Feige? Can you imagine if they had done that? Oh, my God. And now DC is scrambling to get their own Kevin Feige. And now he's Bill Belichick circa 2022.
Yeah.
Not great. Not really what you want. And he's putting Matt Patricia in charge of the offense. And you're just like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
What?
And it's as fast a decline, too.
Yeah, exactly.
It's sad.
And the Ruth Bader Seraph of it all.
Ruth Bader Seraph.
The non-widow. They have this non-widow Israeli woman who's short as hell.
Tiny woman.
Shows up. I kept on being like, who's tiny? She shows up, and I wanted to like her so bad. She's the only female character in this entire movie, practically.
Yeah.
There's one other female character in the entire movie.
Oh, yeah, his aide,
who's in the White House.
Yeah.
And then I guess technically Liv Tyler shows up at the extreme end.
Yeah.
I want to like this character so much. Who the fuck is she?
She can't act.
She can't act. She can't.
No.
She's not good. The whole scene where she's trying to flirt with Bucky, I was just like, what is happening?
Yeah.
I want to like this because this has all the properties that I get excited for in something. Again, we're talking about world building and Ex-Widow. Yep. Okay, this is world building. This is what we want. And you give her a bad costume, which is a no costume.
No costume.
When you have her, Joaquin, and Cap walking into a room and only one of these guys is in a good costume. All three are in costumes, but only one of them is a costume. Yeah. And the other two are just like, you don't even have a sigil.
It looked like her costume was like a rip-off of Captain America.
Yeah.
It's like, why the fuck
she like that? Beat someone up and took their jacket.
Yeah.
So she has like the leather jacket that every Cap associate has to have. And but seriously, how do none of you have a sigil? None of you have a sigil. How is that possible? How is this the fourth Captain America movie and two of the three lead characters have no sigil at all? Even Ross has the sigil of the President of the United States. Like, they have nothing. And I'm like, you guys don't want to be a superhero property. You just don't.
Agree. And she reminded me of I can't remember her name. She was from Harold and Maude. She also played the principal in Kindergarten Cop. Just that tiny woman.
Yeah.
Because she's like a little mousy voice. I was like, man, she kicks some ass.
She kicks some ass.
You could tell she's a gymnast or something because she was.
Like I said, I really wanted to like her because it starts out that she's going to be the pain in the ass Maria Hill type where it's like, okay, we can't get anything done because she's here. And then she starts putting together the mystery on her own, and she's really smart about it. She figures out all the same breadcrumbs that fucking Sam Wilson does. And so it's like, I want to like this character because she is adept, she is capable, she can do good things, but you gave her nothing to do. You unfortunately gave her it's like poor Isaiah Bradley. She becomes basically a plot point. We have to get Isaiah Bradley out of jail. We have to have Sarah be not a pain in the ass. Yeah. We have to win over her admiration.
Her character was completely unnecessary.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is like she doesn't really do anything. It seems like she does stuff, but she never really does anything.
And when I see her character and the chief of staff we were talking about, it's. Did you ever see the old SNL skit with Scarlett Johansson where they turned Ultron into like a romantic comedy?
Yeah.
And then at the end it says, Marvel, we know how to write women.
Yeah.
That's every time I see it.
Every time.
No, you don't.
You don't know how to write women.
Idea.
You don't want to be a superhero thing.
Nope.
You don't want there to be any women in the thing. You want this to be a X genre movie. Yeah. Pick a genre, plug it in, and then we're going to throw things at it that you wouldn't normally be able to do in that genre because we're a superhero thing. But it's not going to be a superhero thing. It's not going to have the might and build of a superhero thing. It's not going to have the logic and reason of a superhero thing. It's not even going to have the snappy dialogue of a superhero thing. I can't get over how bad Joaquin was.
He was so
and
terrible.
it's just because, like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
You're acting like we've known this guy forever. Who the fuck is he? This reminds me of when you're watching anybody who's watched Buffy, the Vampire Slayer. When you're watching Buffy and she just suddenly has a sister. And you're like, hang on. Wait a minute. You can't fool me. That's bullshit. At least in Buffy, they explain it. Joaquin might as well have been magicked out of nowhere by Doctor Strange. Because he means nothing. He brings nothing. No. He does nothing.
And it's like, they've done it better with, I'm sorry, and I will use this comparison the day I die. If you're going to do a sidekick nowadays, you got to do a vigilante like sidekick. Yeah. You got to have a guy that's like a big mouth and funny and not just cringy.
No.
And like fawning over,
he was just so annoying.
It
was that scene at the end where they're again trying to play the same thing as in Winter Soldier, where Sam is sitting by the hospital bed waiting for Cap to wake up. Now Sam is sitting by the Falcon's bed waiting for the Falcon to wake up. And the Falcon has this whole diatribe about like, oh, when I was growing up in Miami, it felt like all of the superheroes were so far away. First off, that makes no fucking sense for a variety of reasons, not the least of which being we keep on being told that these issues in New York are ubiquitous to the entire country, that everybody's experienced some form of this, or that there is some existential threat by it being out there, that any city could be affected by it. So like I disagree with your assessment that Miami has no superhero society of any kind, not even like fan clubs or anything. There's nothing. He wanted to be the Falcon. He didn't want to be Cap. He didn't want to be Tony. He didn't want to be Ant-Man. He didn't want to be Hulk. He wanted to be the Falcon? Really?
It's like somebody saying they want to be Hawkeye. It's like, really?
Seriously? This Hawkeye? Yeah. Like, there's some versions of Hawkeye where I'm like, okay, I kind of get it. And I'm not saying anything against Sam Wilson as a character.
Yes.
But, like, it says so much about Joaquin as a character that was his aspiration, is I don't want to be Cap. I don't want to be Thor. I don't want to be Tony. I don't want to be Black Panther. I want to be third-tier Falcon.
And that is another missed opportunity they could have had for their Marvel humor, where he could have said, I always wanted to be Thor, but I figured I had no way I'll be that, so I just figured I'd be the Falcon.
Exactly.
And make it just... That's the joke.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You're my third choice.
Exactly. I definitely didn't look up to you at first. I do now, but I can't lie to you, Cap. I didn't look up to you at first. I want to like this movie. Ultimately, it has a lot of the problems that Marvel has, and it doesn't do anything to help those problems. And when the plot starts to sag and fall apart, then you're just left with this very messy. It's like taking a gingerbread house and dumping it in a vat of milk. Yeah. And it just starts falling apart.
And it just, once again, I'm tired of the preachy Sam Wilson. It's like, he like the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier, he got so much feedback online from people saying that whole speech he gives to the congressman was just so cringeworthy. Mm-hmm. And what are you going to do? You're going to have him do those speeches in the fucking movie. Yeah. And it's like, no, dude, he doesn't have to be the, hey, you know what I learned today? Yeah. It
definitely comes off as like, I don't know, man. I get talking down a Hulk. I get that that's a thing, but I also get that Hulks are irrational. Yeah. And you have to deeply connect with the Hulk. And I just don't think that Cherry Blossom, like, my thing is that in my mind, at the end of the movie, this cherry blossom is floating down and it lands in the Hulk's hand and he looks at it and you can basically hear him say, Betty, and he turns back into Harrison Ford. The Red Hulk, a thing that they talk about but never exploit, has heat power. He creates fire. High levels of heat come off of him at all time. And so we see it every once in a while, but we don't really see it impactfully. I would have loved if it landed on his hand and burst into flames. And he internalizes that as rage, and we're all just cycled up again. And it's just like, even this plan was not enough, because the Hulk it's like talking down a tornado. Yeah. You're going to sit there and be like, don't come into town, tornado. I know you don't want this.
And you downplayed the importance of Scarlett Johansson in Age of Ultron, where it was Beauty and the Beast. Yeah. That was the only thing that could calm him down. Yeah. And now it's like, no, Sam Wilson can calm down.
As long as a really inspiring speech in a place that is meaningful to you, you can calm down. And I like it, the concept of we need to move away from violence and embrace love. I just don't think action movies are the best place to try and exploit that.
We go to these movies. I don't play games like Doom expecting Animal Crossing. Yeah. I don't go to action comic book movies expecting talk, no fighting. Yeah. That's what we go for.
That's what the whole point of this is. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I'll watch Predator to see big, sweaty, steroided guys shoot people and stab them with knives.
You're one ugly motherfucker.
Yeah. It's, it's not that I love the violence per se. It's just that it fits in that environment.
It makes sense within the context of the story. And not only that, in the case of Predator, it adds to the story. Yes. Because there's an element of Dutch's group gets hired to go and do this thing, to go and do this job. They kill a bunch of people, and then they find out that the job that they were hired for wasn't a thing. Yes. That wasn't why they were here. The reason Dutch is pissed about this is because he just had his men kill a bunch of people and put themselves in harm's way to do so. Yep. So it adds a level to his character to be like, yes, this is an incredibly violent person, but he has in some way compartmentalized the violence to be like, violence is necessary in situations. I am a violent being. I am put in those situations. Yep. As long as I am told why I'm doing it, I'm okay with it. But the moment that becomes a lie, I have huge issues because you're exploiting me now. Yes. You can't do that in this situation if you rob the whole thing of it. You just can't undercut the whole thing. So
I agree.
B minus. I'm taking it down to a B minus.
Yeah, I got you. All right, so we're a little closer on that then. So, folks, that was NerdPod Generations, episode 162.
62.
Holy cow.
162.
162. So if you're, once again, first time listening to us, please give a like and subscribe to our channel. Go to youtube.com, look up NerdPod Generations, or you can go to nerdpodgen.com. There are some links that you can click on. There's also little blurbs about us. And there's also some great artwork. Yeah, who does our artwork and music?
Our art is by Kortney Howell. Our music is by Brendan Williams and James Connolly.
And then next week, hopefully, we're going to be taking on Murderbot.
Murderbot is currently served up and ready to go.
But we'll see what drops.
It's an
You never know.
You know what's going to happen is that HBO is going to drop like their entire Q5 list of things that they're going to run, and they're like, oh, check it all out. And we're going to have to talk for an hour and a half about trailers.
Yay, trailers!
All right, friends and enemies. We'll see you next week.
Adios.
Have a great one.